Hey, Bass and Bob members, we're here for our December 2016 experts meeting. This meeting tonight is sponsored by Old Kinderhook, and I'm here with Bob Rankin, Executive Director of Old Kinderhook, great friend of mine, and my new fishing partner. I get to net even more fish now. Fish with Wayne, fish with Bob. I get to net a lot of fish. Bob catches them.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, Bob, first of all, what are you cooking for dinner tonight?
First of all, I am not the chef at Old Kinderhook, but I do like to cook. And our chef set us up with a couple of whole beef tenderloins, so
Nice.
it's going to be some pretty good eating. Little Chateaubriand for 12, or however many we're going to see.
Chateaubriand for 12. How awesome is that? And just, I think all of the Bass and Bob members know that when we have our experts meetings, we serve a dinner. We have a dinner beforehand, and oftentimes it's sponsored by somebody, and this time it's Old Kinderhook. Bob, tell us a little bit about what's going on in Old Kinderhook. We're in December, Christmas season. Anything special going on in Old
We've got a whole
Kinderhook?
lot going on. Most of the time you think about this time of year, everybody's just shutting down, and we were loaded up with people. We have what we call the Christmas Village open.
Nice.
Most of you didn't know, some don't. We have an ice skating rink, and along with that, we create this village and Christmas atmosphere. It's really cool. We have Santa show up. We have elves tell stories. They build gingerbread houses. We have carriage rides. We have the place decked out in Christmas decorations. So every weekend in December, that's going on, and it's really helped us fill a big hole. I mean, like I said, we were sold out last weekend. We're sold out next weekend. We still got space available for the next 2 weekends in December. So
Hey, next 2 weekends, not next weekend, but the next 2 weekends in December, getting up towards Christmas. Fishermen, I always like to say, please support our sponsors. These are the people that are supporting fishing here at Lake of the Ozarks. Old Kinderhook, if you've never been there, is absolutely awesome. It's totally family oriented. The Christmas thing is totally family oriented. If you're coming down for a tournament, coming down to do some shopping, please check out Old Kinderhook and stay there.
if you bring the family down, we have a boat rent. You can launch your boat. We have slips. I mean, we are fisherman friendly. We have places for you to hook up your electric and everything. So.
Great. Okay, well, thank you very much for sponsoring.
You bet.
Bass and Bob members, Old Kinderhook. These guys are on board with fishing at Lake of the Ozarks in a big way, and it's a great place to stay. So please check them out. Thanks, Bob.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, Bass and Bob members, we're here for our December 2016 experts meeting, and this is for Crappie Plus. That means Crappie plus other species. That's hybrids, stripers, catfish, crappie, all the other stuff that Jack goes out there and catches. He catches everything. Anyway, we have our expert team here. Jack Utza, #1 fishing guide here at Lake of the Ozarks. Terry Blankenship, #1. Well, he doesn't like to be set, but #1 crappie fisherman here on Lake of the Ozarks. And we have Jim Veerhoff, and Jim is an expert at putting brush around docks at different levels, blah blah blah, and catching the snot out of crappie and catfish and anything else that might live around those docks. So that's our experts. I want to say a special thanks to Old Kinderhook. Old Kinderhook is sponsoring our experts meeting tonight. Got Bob Rankin. He's on the grill right now cooking some tenderloins for our expert team for dinner tonight. And Old Kinderhook has some really special things going on right now. They have a Christmas village out there at Old Kinderhook where they have the ice skating rink, they have Santa Claus, they have breakfast with Santa Claus, they have gingerbread house. They have a lot of family fun things around Christmas. So if you're thinking about coming to the lake and you're going to spend a little time here, and whether you're coming here just to do some fun fishing, you're coming here, maybe you're a bass fisherman and want to fish a tournament, check out Old Kinderhook. We always ask all of our members to please support our sponsors. Old Kinderhook's been a great sponsor. Please support our sponsors because they support fishing at Lake of the Ozarks, and that's what makes all this happen. So big thank you to Old Kinderhook. Check them out. So Robbie is out of town. He usually runs these meetings here. Robbie's out of town at a bass tournament on Kentucky Lake right now with his partner Ben Veerhoff, and they're fishing the BASS National Team Championship this weekend. So anyway, we wish them luck. So I asked Jack if I don't know anything about crappie. I don't even know if I know how to spell it.
He really doesn't.
But anyway, I'm going to ask Jack to go ahead and moderate the discussion. And so Jack, what's going on with the crappie, dude?
I tell you what, we've been catching them. I mean, it's been really good. November is one of the better crappie months of the whole year. Right now, I think we've all been having some pretty good success, and we've all been fishing a little bit differently too. Plus, Tara, I know you've been catching some big hybrids lately too, so I'm gonna have to ask you about that in a little bit. But Jim, now you just got off the water today, within minutes of coming over here. Give us your fresh report.
They're biting.
They're biting.
No question. I don't care what you use or what you're, a minnow, a jig, or anything, they're just biting. I had a hard time getting to the little ones to get to some bigger fish right now. You know, you flip a jig or anything in the water, within 3 seconds you have a fish on.
My God.
You get tired of taking fish off. They're just biting right now.
Now this is
And these aren't
primarily-
very big ones though. These are, we're catching a lot of, I'm catching a lot of up high, and of course the black crappie up a little higher. They're 5 or 6 inches. They're not keepers yet, but if you can get below those a little bit, and every once in a while you'll catch an 8 or 9 inch, maybe a 10-inch black crappie, but not those great big ones where I'm at right now.
So you're vertical fishing over top of brush piles. Is it always over brush or just mostly over brush?
Mostly over brush. I mean, if you find brush, you're gonna find fish right now.
Yeah, so
I moved around a couple docks, and I went over to Wayne's dock, and I had 15 keepers in 25 minutes.
So not just condo docks then?
What's that?
Not just condo docks?
Not just kind of any docks. Wayne's just got a 2-well dock, and he has a lot of brush around it, and I just was whacking them over there.
Yeah.
I got tired of taking them off the hook, so they are biting.
So you've got
But there's not a
smaller
lot of big
docks
ones
with
right
brush,
now,
and then you've got condo docks with
We got
brush.
condo docks.
They're biting both places. The smaller dock produced better average size, right?
I can see that. My condo dock right now. I mean, the condo docks usually a little better than ours. Just my opinion, they're a little better in the winter.
Yeah.
But
But at this moment,
at this moment, that I wouldn't hesitate throwing a stick of brush out there by a dock somewhere, because I think you're going to get them. I think they're hungry right now. They're feeding up. They're getting ready to.
yeah,
You know,
water temperature is getting cooler. It's in the upper 50s. It's not cold yet. This is gonna be probably the last what I would call warm day. Every day after this is gonna be in the upper 40s. So it's still not gonna be terribly cold, but it is gonna be a drastic change after today. After we really settle into beginning part of December, where it's gonna, the winter patterns and the winter baits are really gonna start to take hold pretty soon. But
I will
it's
say
not there
this.
yet.
All the fish I caught were in brush. I didn't catch any away from brush. I tried a little bit away from brush. They had to be brush related.
Yeah.
Had to be in the shade. It was sunny today. And
It was sunny today.
And
Was the wind a big factor? Was it coming in?
I had a hard time. Well, yeah, your line, when you get wind and your lines, I know I missed a lot of fish today, but I really wasn't trying too hard because I knew they were little fish. I'm trying to get through the little fish. I could see the little tack and bite, and I just tried to let it sink a little bit to see if I could get a little, a bigger size. I wanted to get those. I can't wait till those 12, 13, 14-inch black ones start by. I know Terry's probably catching those on the main channel where I'm at. I'm just not right now. So, but I'm catching a lot of fish, and that's fun. That's crappie.
Oh,
fishing. That's fun.
All right. So let's give it over to you, man. I know we had a guy trip last week. You guys caught a bunch. We caught a bunch. You had a different pattern than what I had, and but your customers caught a lot of fish.
Yeah, our fish was pretty much just dock fishing, where we were shooting docks and shoot back up underneath there, and it was more or less around deep water, but the fish were, and generally probably anywhere from 2 foot under a dock to 10 foot deep, so it varied a little bit. It's the same as what he gets into. Sometimes, in my mind, when I'm dock shooting, I count on that first shot underneath the dock to be potentially the best fish, because it seems like if you get one that kind of gets deep back under the dock, part of the dock and everything, on your first shot, that it can be a good one, and then not that you can't still catch a couple more, but I just count on that first shot. If I make a really good shot, that it could be my best fish on the dock. But there's pretty large schools gathering on the docks right now. And not that there wasn't school fish before, but it's like he was saying, they're just biting.
They're groups.
And, yeah, and it's the typical late fall pattern, getting ready to go into winter, and they just try to fatten up in the winter. It's just a typical pattern for this time of year, and not that there's a lot of just big fish. I've not seen that. You kind of hit or miss with those, and you might, just like I said, right now I feel like if I don't get him on my first shot or two under a dock, I don't feel like I'm going to necessarily catch a big one, for the odds are going down. But You know, but we also, and on some other trips, I was out and just fishing bluffs a little bit. And I know that you guys did really well on some bluffs, but bluff fishing that I'm talking about was kind of more of a staged bluff that come off and had some brush on it. And we caught those fish vertical fishing, which probably 15 to 20 foot deep. And then at the same area, there's some brush that the wind was blowing up on this little point that was in maybe 6 foot of water, and we caught more fish off of that in the wind. You know, you just had to make a good cast and get a good depth, and just have your line tight enough that you can feel the strike. So that's kind of what I got going on right now.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Like you said, I've been doing a lot of the bluff stuff. There's a few bluffs in particular that have been hammering pretty hard, and there's a certain time period, primarily in the morning, that they're just biting. Not going real deep either, you know. I mean, 3 feet. I'm casting right up to the bank, getting bit anywhere as shallow as 3 feet, out to about 8 feet. Concentrating on that strike zone. If there's a little bit of wind coming in on it, all better.
And you always throw some crappie nibbles on a lot of your baits too, don't you?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the crappie nibbles.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of guys I hear about crappie slapping at the bait, or you just having a little bite and not holding on to it. You put a crappie nibble on there, usually they hold on to it.
Yeah.
You know.
It gives them a taste of a real bait. And
Yeah.
you're right, it'll definitely make them hang on to it better.
Yeah.
So when they're really finicky, it's an absolute must to have some crappie nibbles in the boat with you.
Yeah, if you're shooting docks a lot, sometimes they'll get in the way and they'll fall off.
Yeah.
Or anytime I'm targeting black crappie, it's not as important then, but they just help. I mean, anytime you go out fishing, you want to catch as many as you possibly can. And so I'm a big fan of them. I do let them sit out for a second. Sometimes if they're in the package for a long, long time, they'll be a little extra soft. I want them to be just a little stale, and that way they harden up just a little bit. So sometimes I'll let them sit out in the sunlight for 30, 40 minutes before I put them on, and that toughens them up a little bit to where they don't fall off as easily. And I use the chartreuse, crappie nibbles, but all the different colors work good. In the muddy water, I like the pink. 90% of the time, I like the chartreuse color. Chroma glow is what they call it, and I buy them by the caseloads. I mean, they make a difference, you know. Years ago, when I used to crappie fish, I used to use minnows all the time. Well, I don't use minnows nowadays because of the crappie nibbles. They make that big of a difference. They will make you catch more fish. And yeah, so I've been targeting a lot of bluffs, a little bit of wind coming in on them. Not sheer type of bluffs that have got a little bit of an angle to them. And it's been better in the morning than it has been later on in the evening, but there are some days, especially in the cloudy days, where you can catch them the whole day through. The brush pals for me, outside of the docks, been producing a lot smaller fish. Now if you go on a really sunny day, maybe in the afternoon, that's probably where those fish are going to. They're probably leaving the brush, leaving the bluffs, going to the brush. But I know that day with you, we had some clouds, and we just happened to come by a couple brush piles I know of where we dropped down to them, 15, 17 foot down there, and there was no doubt there was fish there, but they were all little. Now, if we would have came back there on a sunny day, maybe just a little bit of wind, I guarantee there probably would have been bigger crappie there, and they would have pushed out those smaller crappies. Those bigger crappies would have went to what I call their home, and it would have been a totally different game. And that deep vertical fishing bite, as we get closer to the end of December, Christmas time, that bite is going to get better and better, and it's going to be pretty fun because you can watch them on your fish finder. And you're a fish finder guru. He's obsessed with the fish finders, particularly the hummingbirds. I know you've watched them, haven't you? Because I've done it.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun whenever they get deep enough where you can see them on your sonar. And you can pretty much just watch your jig go down and just, if you place your jig just above what you see in the fish, you can all of a sudden you'll see one just streak up and whack it.
Yeah.
It's not easy to do that unless you keep, you gotta be able to fish almost straight down below your trolling motor, and the way I've got mine set up, I got a 20-degree going so that I can get pretty exact depths and stuff. And so I gotta get close to that cone, and obviously the deeper you go, the more chance you got of seeing your jig, and yeah, it is it's fun whenever you can get on
Yeah.
top of it.
A lot of times I'll use 2 jigs, because it takes a while to get down there. I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes it's 35 feet, I'm going straight down on it. And there are some quality fish down there, and I'll use 2 jigs. It'll sink a little bit faster, and, well, you know, when you gotta wait, you gotta open that bail and let it sink down there that long, it kinda takes you a while. So when you finally get down there, you're still not moving it fast. You know, a lot of times I'm just barely reeling it or just holding it still, letting the boat, you know, the soft, subtle waves move my boat a little bit. And, you know, another thing that you had mentioned briefly, or kind of went towards, is having your trolling motor into the wind. Because if you're getting blown around by the wind and you can't stay right on top of them, the only way for you to stay right on top of them is have your nose of the boat into the wind to keep you standing still, because otherwise you're just going to be blown all around the place. I mean, that's one of the things that's so great about Lake of the Ozarks and dock fishing. You know, they're so accessible, and you can feel every time that crappie gets close to you, that jig, is the slightest little thing. If you're on a boat, you know, the boat's going up and down and whatnot, and when you're on a dock, your concentration level is just another level than what you can do from
And
a...
precision. You can drop right in a corner, or you can put a jig back in the same spot within a foot or two.
And actually, you can shoot around on the dock. You can go under places on the dock where people can't get from up. You can shoot when you can lean down and get that rod down there, and you can shoot under some places where other people aren't fishing on the dock. You got to try that, and that's a good place to learn too, is sitting on a dock. You can get down on your knees. I bet you Terry will tell that. And
Yeah.
you can shoot some of those holes that.
I've seen a pattern, maybe like, and it happens back and forth, but maybe a week or so ago, where I was fishing on the dock. I was on the dock,
Yeah.
and the only place I could catch fish is where the cable was going down. You know, where you got your cable cranks on your dock?
Yeah.
Those fish were right tight to that cable, right where that shaft goes down. And most time when I'd catch one there, it was a good one too. And so it was just a crazy little pattern that, you know, if you had enough docks where you could go out and do that on, you could catch a bunch of fish, a bunch of good fish doing that. Or I could that day.
We can
Oh,
do
I've
that
seen
on
it
our dock
too.
Yeah, I mean, we get big black crappie on those cables.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I mean, that's
That's
one
what
place
we
in our
work.
docks that we catch black crappie.
Yeah.
It's right on those cables, and they're usually good ones if you catch them.
Yeah, and just to clarify, black crappies, you know, you touched on it earlier, a lot of times they will run shallower than white crappies, okay guys? They will be down there that deep below the water's surface. And so when you're walking around up there, you want to be quiet, you want to be, as you put that jig in the water, you want to be, you know, you don't want to be flopping it in there, because if that fish is this far below the surface, it can spook them. I mean, these are black crappies. They're just a little different than the white crappies. They are spooky, but they're bigger. A lot of times they've got more meat on the shoulders. And anytime the fish is that shallow, he can be a little spooky. Now, when they're getting like 35 feet deep like they do in January and towards the end of December, well, it doesn't matter what you're doing up there. You can be slamming your rod box, listening to music or whatever. But those black crappies, this is the time of year where, you know, from now until March,
it's
until
on.
the end of March, black crappies are going to be a big part of a game plan.
And I tell you what, if you're catching a lot of 6'5", 6-inch black crappie, you're doing the right thing.
Oh,
If
really?
if you can feel those, you can feel every crappie. Because they're
Yeah.
the hardest ones, I think, to catch, those little small black crappie. I think they come and they put that, you know, they're tricky to catch. They're hard to catch.
Yeah, they do a lot of slapping too.
They do, you know, it's like, wow, and if you start catching those, I think you're doing the right thing, so don't change. You'll be fine.
Well, Jack brought up the idea, the part about where I really work with my electronics a lot. And I have seen large schools, what I think are crappie now. But they're really small and they're really tight. They look like a school shed. You know, you get around these docks and you just see maybe sometimes thousands of them. And you can go around here and start catching some fish and you'll find out that there are a lot of non-keepers. But what I'm seeing and what I think's coming for the next 2 years is going to be incredible. Because I think that, from what I can tell, we've got a huge hatch coming. So I feel good about what's coming up.
Well, I know this lake has really spoiled me for crappie fish, and you know, I've always crappie fished since I was a kid, but never really got it year round until I started guiding full time, or still until at least until I started guiding. And this lake is such a good, consistent crappie lake. We take it for granted. I mean, even in the summertime, when what we consider it bad, it's still pretty good. I mean, you know, because there's places where you just don't go and catch them, like, you know, 15. Because if we don't come back with 20-something crappie, I'm not a happy camper. You don't want to be around, because that's not okay. I mean, we need to catch 20 plus. You know, in other lakes, you know, it's really just a springtime thing, is when you can catch your crappie.
This is an awesome fishery.
Yeah.
Right.
All the docks, all the brush piles, you know, and you know, we've all got our certain areas. I like the mid-lake area. You like the Glaze, don't you?
The Glaze is home water for me, but I fish in a lot of different areas of the lake. I mean, it's, I've just covered a lot of water, and I'm pretty familiar with a lot of different places, and I think that's kind of what will help you stay more consistent at fishing. You know, like, I'm pretty avid at the crappie, so, you know, I feel like that I have to try different areas, and I think it definitely pays off.
Yeah, and you fish the Toll Bridge area primarily, right? Tell you what,
The water's real dirty right there now too. It's not stick bait time for bass or anything, but it's, it doesn't matter for crappie right now. It's
Yeah.
just that time. I don't care if it's clear. If you go up to Glaze or you find some clear water, it'll be just as good.
The bite's on.
The
Yeah.
bite's on.
The
It's
bite's
just,
on.
it's, yeah, if you don't, you know, you don't have to hire a guy right now to catch fish.
All
But-
throughout December?
But
yeah, it should be pretty good for a while. I mean, me and Terry, we cleaned fish for over an hour the other day, and we were going through them as quick as we could. We had
that's why you hire a guy.
60 something. We had 60 something crappie. We had 6 guys fishing, so we had 60 or 70 crappie that day, and just and this was not like we were out there from daylight to dark. I mean, we just fished the morning, and I think we fished a little bit into the afternoon, a little afternoon.
I had to shorten the trip because we had a lot of fish to clean.
Yeah, we had a lot of fish to clean.
What about throughout December?
Yeah, it shouldn't really change. Right now, they're going to be shallow for a while, and eventually that'll fade away. For the most part, they might still be shallow underneath docks, but you know,
December can be absolutely incredible.
it depends on how cold it gets.
What
too.
will make them change?
Big cold fronts, huge weather changes.
And then what happens to the crappie then?
Well, it'll push them down. I mean, crappie will keep coming up right now. I mean, I'll just gauge it off water temperature, all right? Right now, what, mid-50s, at best 60, depending on what part of the lake you're on.
Okay.
And by the time it gets down to 45, 45 degree is still absolutely smash crappie time. But-
Shallow, deep, you just gotta find them.
yeah, it varies with the weather conditions, but, you know, in my mind, you know, most people think fish are going deep starting into winter. They're not. The crappie aren't. They kind of actually get shallower a lot of times, but
No,
major
we're near
fronts-
deep water. We're not in the back of the coves,
Yeah.
and you know, 2 miles from the main channel. We're close to deep water, but the fish aren't in deep water. They're suspended down so many feet from the surface, just a handful of feet from the surface, but they're close to deep water, and they might be over deep water, but they're not in deep water.
There'll be a time, probably if it's not already happened, which it kind of has a little bit, but there'd be a time whenever the crappie would be so tight to the foam of the dock that when you shoot a jig back underneath that dock, they will hit it before you can even get your bail clicked. If that jig stops at the right spot, because they're that close to that, and they really smack it when it's like that. It's like having a bobber and having a foot and a half of water, you know, or a foot and a half deep, let's say. Well, a crappie will come up on a shallow bobber like that, and they'll come up on that jig and they'll take it down, and that bobber just goes blam. I mean, it'll just like a bullet went off, you know. And it's because they're wanting to come up and get the bait and get back down. And it's the same thing when you're dock shooting. Whenever they're real shallow, they really knock the heck out of that bait, and it's the most fun fishing that I know of for crappie. It's a blast.
So as fishermen see the temperature drop a degree, another degree, another degree, so, you know, now we're at Christmas, and in between Christmas and New Year's, and that water temperature's now maybe in the, I don't know, upper 40s or in that area. How do you go about just finding the fish and where they're at as we get it more into the winter time?
Well, that deep the deep brush pile pattern will become stronger and stronger towards the end, very, very end of December. 25-foot brush piles to 35-foot brush piles are hard to find, but if you've got some, especially if they're close to the main channel, they should hold some crappie for you.
Okay.
Going into December, with the water temperature we got right now, conditions we got right now, unless it drastically changes, I would expect it to a lot of crappie to be caught shallow.
Got it.
And I guarantee you I could go out in 20 foot of water and catch fish too. But the shallow bite's the easiest bite, so, you know, it's just gonna be a good time to go. And they are very aggressive coming into this late part of fall or early winter. And it's just traditional. They come in and they really feed good, they bite good. There's none of this pecking around and slapping the bait going on. They're pretty serious about eating right now.
Any colors and baits that are working any better? And through December?
Not necessarily. You know, sometimes it's generated by the color of the water, what it throw. And I'm not too much on trying to pin somebody and say this is the bait they need to throw, because I've got into it with people dang near over the fact that they say, well, what's your favorite color? And I'll tell them, so, well, that's not my favorite color. I like it. You know, you go through that thing. And to me, if you got a bait that's been working for you, try it first. You know, that's your priority bait. And if that don't work, then just start changing colors. But, you know, the standard body garland blue ice, never wrong, never wrong. It will always catch fish. And then they've got 4 or 5 other colors that are just, you know, to me, at times can be as dominant. So you got a lot of body garland type colors that are good. There's a Bayou Booger. It sounds weird, but it's an awesome bait. They got what they call a kiwi, and you know they're just electric chicken. Oh my gosh, you know what the heck's electric chicken? You know, but it works.
Size of head matter?
Well, I'm a 16th ounce head year round typically. I just hardly ever change because I like having control over my depth and my feel of how fast I'm getting somewhere. You know, if I know I need to be fishing 10 foot deep, I did a 1,001, 1,002, 1,010 count and try to control it that way. You know, and if you change heads and change baits a lot, it will vary that a little bit. And sometimes they're pretty precise. You have to be, you need to stay above them.
Yeah.
Try to fish above them a little bit.
Size line?
6 pounds for me.
Yep, same here.
I use 4.
Oh, do you really?
That's all I use. So,
Yeah, he's got more confidence in it.
And you use braid.
you know what? I've used that braid. That it's 10-pound test, but it's 2-pound thickness of braid. I like that on a dock because it's hard to tie a jig. That's the only problem with that stuff. And it's hard to see. As we get older, it takes a while to tie that jig, but you never lose a jig. You can bend a hook before you lose a jig. And if you get a catfish or something on, you have a better chance of getting it in. But I like that braid for using, and it's really sensitive. So today I was using Vision, that little yellow line, that 4-pound test, just because it was windy and I could see the line a little better.
Vicious.
Vicious, yeah.
That's what I use.
And it's just, I could see the line because the wind was blowing. I could see it, you know, move just a tick a line, and it worked really well for me today. But I like the 4. It's just what you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
Oh, it works. I mean, you're going straight vertical,
Yeah.
you know, so you know exactly where the brush piles are, and you're going above those brush piles, primarily. Try to.
Yeah, I go into you can feel it, you know, you get good, you can feel when you're hitting brush or if it's a fish, and you just lower it down and come through the brush. You get to the point, you get pretty good if you're in a brush pile.
But a lot of times they want to be in it.
Oh, that'll be good.
Yeah.
So,
I get a lot of questions about what I use for dock shooting, and I've tried braid, and braid, I have trouble with it sticking in my spool.
I can see that.
Yeah, and now doing what you're doing, it works really good. Or if you know you're in some brush somewhere and you gotta fish that brush, you gotta get tight to the brush. You know, if you can go a little stouter on your line, just like you said, you can bend your hook out. You know, crappie jigs aren't very expensive to me, and I just think that, you know, I've gone all day and not lost a jig. And I've gone and fished the same thing and the next day and lose 20. So, you know, you just never know what kind of day you're gonna have, but, you know, I do know that I feel like I gotta get close to the brush a lot of times whenever I'm around brush, and so one of the best possible bites to get a bite is whenever you feel that brush and you can shake that jig and just free it up from that brush pile and just stop it right there. Oh my gosh, that's the number one prime time to get bit.
And if you don't get bit when you do that, it's time for you to start thinking about moving on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like start bass fishing, or?
No, just move on to another area.
So just a little bit of an opinionated question from the cheap seats here. What do you guys think about 9-inch as the limit versus 10-inch as the limit for crappie?
Well, you're a big fan of it.
I really hope they go that way.
Go to 10?
I do.
Why is that, Terry?
Well, I just think it's going to be a lot better quality for us, the fishery. We're going to see there's more meat per fish by a lot between a 9 and a 10. And I'd like to see them at least try it, because this lake has got shad. Like every year, I think our shad hatches bigger. And
The
so-
shad are bigger than the crappie.
Yeah, I mean, the hatches are huge. I mean, you can see anything from 1.5 to 6-inch shad out there. So to me, they've got plenty of food. And maybe, for whatever reason, maybe they won't necessarily grow in this lake good enough to really be right for that 10-inch, but I'd really like to see it tried and see if it happens to work. How do you feel about it, Jack?
Well, I wish I knew what the answer was going to be. If like we go ahead and change the rule and it works, that'd be great. But they're not going to go back and forth. Conservation, government, slow as molasses. And once they make a change, they're going to stick to it. And in springtime, winter, fall, it all sounds great. The only thing that I've got a reservation about is in the summertime when we get all these tourists coming down, and it's a harder time of year to catch the big crappie in the summertime. Now, yeah, you can troll and you can catch them really good then, but you know, there's a lot of 9.5-inch crappie that are caught and cleaned in the summertime that I don't think people are thinking about. Overall, I think it's going to be a good thing for the fishery, but Bob, as you know, I'm kind of a pessimistic guy, and I don't know. And I don't know. I think it'll be good for the fishery, and obviously there is a lot more meat on 10-inch crappie versus 9-inch crappie. A true 9-inch crappie is a tiny little fish with a tiny little fillet. So, and I know there's people that actually clean 9-inch crappie, true 9-inch crappies. But there is a whole lot of 9 3/4-inch crappie that certain people catch and you know, make happy. So.
Well, I know Missouri Department of Conservation is considering it, and I thought I'd get your opinion and love to get the opinion of Bassing Bob members. So send me an email, bob@bassingbob.com, if you have an opinion one way or the other. And like Jack said, once it goes one way, it's not going to come back. So anyway, so thanks. How about the other species?
Yeah, Terry, you got to tell us about your big hybrids lately.
Yeah.
You've been catching some tanks.
Yeah, I don't know if everybody's getting into them like I am, but I had a crappie trip the other day, and you know, we were tearing up some tackle. The hybrids are kind of, to me, it seems like they're taking over for the last, I'm going to say for the last 4 or 5 years. You know, every year I seem like I catch a few more, and this year I seem like I catch one almost every time I go out. At least I catch one. And there's some good ones. I mean, we're catching up to close to 20 pounds. I mean, we had I had a guy trip Monday, and we had 6 that we got in. And you know, you have to just chase them around, but it's a lot of fun. And they had a blast. It turned out to be a great trip. And but I personally feel like that the hybrids are starting to do a little damage to our game fish, because in some of the places that I like to bass fish, I don't see I can catch bass out of now, and I catch more hybrids there than I do bass, and maybe it's just freak circumstance right now, or whatever. I catching catfish in there too, so there must be the right kind of bait in there. And
What kind of bait is that?
Well, it's probably big shad.
Or what kind of bait are you throwing?
Well, I've caught them on crappie jigs, and I've caught them on crankbaits.
Really?
But there's catching catfish here too, so there must be the as far as really nice fish, I'm talking anywhere from 5 to 20 pound fish, you know. You don't get very many of them in all the time, but it makes for a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Have you been doing much with whites?
Not really catching many whites. You know, I'm not seeing them busting much or anything.
No, I haven't seen them busting much. I have been catching some on the main lake points, windy points. But me and you were together.
Well,
We caught a whole bunch of them too. We caught, I don't know, at least a dozen other ones, but we just threw them back because they were kind of small, and we already had a big old pile of crappie. But yeah, the white bass seem to be running small this year. Not sure what the deal is with that. There's times in the past where we've caught a lot of just quality, 1 pound, 1.5 pound whites. I think we're between a age gap right there right now with them, or something, because we're catching a ton of little guys, the 7-inch white bass, 8-inch white bass. Not really.
I've seen a school, which was a large school, and this midway up the Glaze. Now this is summertime, but thousands of fish, and I thought, what the heck? I mean, in my electronics, I was showing all kinds of fish, and I finally flew around here and caught a couple of them, and they were just exactly what you said. They were, small and white bass size, but there was some pretty good schools of them.
Yeah, well, as fast as those guys grow, and as much as they eat, well, it's probably going to be, maybe not next year, but I don't know, they grow fast, and they burn out fast.
Yeah.
So even though you're getting worried about the hybrids, I can tell you, they're not going to last that long. They don't live that long. This might be their last year they're even going to be alive.
I'm catching several different sizes too.
Yeah, well, you got that figured
I'm
out.
not worried.
We've had a number of days that have been cloudy, cool,
Yeah.
good breeze.
Yeah.
Those are the best conditions possible for white bass and hybrids.
Now, I don't know for a fact, do they stock these? Do they reproduce?
They stop them.
Yeah. Well, what I'm catching is the hybrids are big and the stripers are smaller. I've not caught any big stripers.
Stripers are skinny and long,
Yeah.
and a little bit prettier than the hybrids.
Yes, they're more distinct in their lines, they're straight lines, and they're longer, leaner fish, but the hybrids are bigger.
As you move into December, will that change?
I'll lose them.
I imagine they'll change, but you probably fish for the windy points, don't you, for the December fish?
I'll still catch them in December, but as we get towards the end of December, it'll get worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
I mean, mid-December is usually my last hurrah for white bass and hybrids on the main lake windy
Yeah.
points.
I built a lot of houses and back on the Horseshoe Bend side that faces right into the Gravelways area. All those points are famous for white bass in December. And you take a north wind and you can just go down those points a lot of times and you'll just get into them.
I will say, as you move down the lake, like what you're saying, the bite will get further and further down towards Bagnell Dam.
Just follow it.
And so that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. How about the catfish?
I haven't done any catfishing.
Jim?
I'm in hunting mode, so right now, I get back from hunting.
What should they be doing and what will they be doing in December?
Eating. But never stop eating. People stop fishing for them, but I have done catfish trips in December, and they still bite. You got to be a little careful about how fast you're drifting. You don't want to drift too fast. The wind picks up in December and throughout the colder months, and so if that wind is pushing your boat too fast, throw out a sock. What are those socks? Drift socks. help slow your roll down a little bit. But they'll still eat live, or I'm sorry, fresh cut bait.
What about from the bank or jug fishing, Jim?
That'll work too. I think, I use skipjack this time of year. That's always been, I kind of hang around the bait shop, and I know some catfishermen come in here and they just swear by the skipjack. Compared to shad, it must be a little oiler or something, but
They're very oily.
yeah, and you'll catch them. There's some guys catching some big blues yet.
Well, the best part about the skipjack is you don't have to throw a net for them.
Yeah.
If you're throwing a net for a while in December, your feet are gonna get wet, your pants are gonna get wet. It's not a lot of fun. You go buy some skipjack,
Yeah.
it's a whole lot easier.
What about jug fishing throughout the winter, Jim?
Yeah, that's we might get into it again this winter. We usually start about December, January, set a jug out there, and that's fun to do because those fish are, you get them on a jug. That water's cold, and the fish will stay on there. They'll last longer. It's a fun time to fish for catfish.
How do you rig your jug lines in the winter time, Jim?
In the wintertime, we'll take a big a block, and we'll lower it down to the
A
bottom.
block like a brick?
Like a brick, and we'll find it's a key area. Find in that key, out in the water. You'll find a cove with a couple banks coming off, and they'll go down into a big, a big gully there or something where it's probably 30, 35 feet deep. That's what I like down there, and you put that brick there, and then once that breaks down, we'll start tying we'll put another little rock on there, just start weighting it down, and we'll start hanging some lines up, and then put a jug on top. But we'll keep that other little rock off the bottom, so it just kind of bounces around there in the jug.
So it's vertical.
Yeah, it's vertical up and down, and it just moves with the wind. And in that little, it's a ditch or gully there, and we catch a lot of big old blues that way.
Nice.
And that's fun to do. You can bait those hook, and they'll stay on for 2 or 3 weeks.
Nice.
That bait, but you got to watch them every day. I mean, you got to check them. That's the law, and that's just what you
Do you
do.
ever fish with the noodles, the short noodles that they tie out and drift?
No, we haven't tried that.
Those guys in the grab boats on them every winter that just load the boat. Lawson knows about it.
Yeah, and they're graph fishermen too. They could probably see them on their graph. They know exactly where to catch them like that. We'll try that this winter too. That'd be fun to do. We'll get some good pictures of the blue caps, and they're delicious eating. Absolutely, wonderful. Just like crappie. If you're crappie fishing, you'll love blue cap if you clean them right.
My drifting, I do a lot of drifting and jug fishing. And as far as drifting is okay as long as you don't go too fast. But my jug fishing, at least in the middle part of the lake, suffers greatly in the wintertime.
Well,
Okay.
You guys got anything else to add?
Go fishing.
go fishing.
Yeah, it's a great time.
It's a great time for all species, it sounds like, guys. I mean, crappie are biting like crazy. Sounds like they're gonna keep going all throughout December. White bass sounds like maybe, windy points and that type of thing through middle of December, but you never know.
It's gonna be, you're gonna have to get out there pretty soon.
Hybrids, I mean,
Look for your windy, cool days.
I caught a hybrid the other day I caught a striper, one of the real stripers on a stick bait the other day. Oh my God. The fight was awesome. It was so much fun.
Oh my gosh, yeah, the guys that I had on my trip today, I said, no, I know there's some hybrids around here. I seen them on electronics, but all of a sudden the line just started just shredding off of it. And it was heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep your eyes open for some seagulls right now. They've been a big factor here lately.
Tell us about that, Jack.
Seagulls, they come in throughout the colder months of Lake of the Ozarks. You won't hardly see them in the summer months, but they're here now and they're feeding on bait fish. You go in the back of certain coves, for example, Party Cove right now. Many of you guys know Party Cove. It's a big, long creek, shallow, flat mud in the back, and there's a ton of shad in the back of these coves. And Lynn Creek's another one, and you'll see the seagulls popping, going up and down. And they're feeding on shad. The shad are schooled up back there. There's occasionally a hybrid back there, occasionally some white bass back there. The bait's certainly there. And it's something that you can visually see from a long ways away as you're driving your boat.
And it sounds like catfish, you can get some big blues in these winter months.
can.
And I know they're good eating. I don't like to eat fish, but you cook me some, you fried them up in butter.
Butter.
Oh my God, it tastes like lobster.
Yeah.
The blue catfish are good.
Chunked them up.
Sounds like you
Butter.
can catch them, just throw some jug lines out there and play around with that. So anyway, guys, thank you so much. Really appreciate your input and your insights. And Pastor Bob members, thank you all so much. Don't forget, Old Kinderhook, whether it's this December or sometime in a trip you're gonna plan next spring, check out Old Kinderhook, and happy holidays to everybody. Thank you.